Welcome to this episode of The Wolf and the Shepherd. Today we're going to be talking about music and lyrics. I mean, we're music fans. We do like our music. We like listening to songs. One of us actually likes playing songs from time to time. One of us likes singing songs horribly. But we are passionate about music, and we have had a couple of podcasts where we talked about specific songs, but we thought, hey, what about just some songs we know we couldn't make a whole podcast about just one song, and we wanted to talk about certain lyrics and certain songs that kind of move us, kind of get us interested, all that good stuff.
Well, I think before we go any further, we need to address the elephant in the room.
There's an elephant in the room?
What's the word when they say when it's not really a thing, but it is a thing?
Oh, an elephant in the room, I think.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. I know some of our listeners, right, they also do their own podcasts.
Yeah.
And we just want to give advice. Do not do a podcast on clowns, because I researched the topic heavily the other day, and it was an absolute mess. And we had 2 tries to try and do a podcast on clowns and failed miserably.
You know, I'm glad you brought that up, because not since the beginning of this podcast have we went in, recorded, scratched, and then said, let's try it again and all that. That was the first time since the inception, since we started bringing out our content, that we both looked at each other and said, you know what, this is not working.
Yeah, I mean, the pilot was a bag of crap, but I looked up all this stuff, and it was really confusing. I mean, we went to our basic bitch definition on Wikipedia. That was confusing. And then we went to another definition, and it said clowns were interchangeable with priests. Remember that bit?
Yeah.
The bit where, like, go to confession. It's like, oh, sometimes the clown turns into the priest. I'm like, this has absolutely lost me. This is like, you know, the American Horror thing on HBO, American Horror Story. What's it called?
We basically ended up confusing ourselves so bad we couldn't even get through the podcast.
I didn't even know what a clown was by the end of it. I'll be honest.
I'm still confused.
Now, you have to remember, clowns should be an easy topic, but you're listening to 2 people who managed to make a podcast about somebody digging holes.
True.
Right? And this dude who dug holes, like before we had him on, I did some research. I went on the internet, and there was some Russian company which dug a hole, I think was 1.5 miles deep into the earth, right? Might only have been 1/3 of a mile, but I'm just going to run with the 1.5 mile thing because it sounds great. But anyway, so we got this guy on, and we thought, oh my goodness, he's going to tell us about, oh my goodness, when you dig deep down, you're coming into all these fossils, it's like you're going to get all these oil and all this other stuff. And then we asked him a question. First of all, it's like, well, how many holes do you dig? And he said, oh, yeah, about between 20 and 30 a week. And like the shepherd and I looked at each other and were like, wow, that's fantastic. And then we asked him how deep the holes were dug, and he said, yeah, between 12 and 24 inches. So, and then, you know, I was on my best behavior, because I thought, I was literally sat there and I was like, well, I could bloody do that.
All we need is a shovel.
Yeah.
No.
So, you know, that didn't turn out well, but that was a fantastic podcast. But you just can't do one on clowns.
No.
You cannot do a successful podcast on clowns.
That is a public service announcement from us. Just stay away from clowns.
Yeah, we have covered a man who digs 12-inch holes and made it funny.
But we couldn't do clowns.
But also, I want to bring this up again. All right. Bill Burr, if you're listening, mate, we love you, but we know you ate the starter you were supposed to bring for us.
Exactly.
Which we don't necessarily condemn you for, because if the shepherd and I, if somebody sent us, like if either of us worked for Uber Eats, we would be eating some of the food on the way to deliver it.
Oh, sure.
Absolutely, yeah. So we don't blame you, Bill Burr, but we're a little bit.
And it's Bill Vaughn, not Bill Burr. You're thinking
Bill
of the stand-up.
Vaughn?
Yeah, Bill Vaughn.
Oh, Bill Burr. Oh,
yeah,
my goodness,
you're thinking of the stand-up comedian.
Oh, well, this is how unimportant hole digging is.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you.
Yep. So there
Bill
you go.
Burr. Joe Rogan, dang you, because you've kind of messed up. Yeah, I thought it was Bill Burr.
Yeah,
well, let's just blame Bill Burr now, because I haven't heard him
Yeah, I think we do blame Bill Burr
All right.
for this.
Screw
Well, we were listening to Uncle Joe earlier.
We were, yeah.
That's probably why you made that mistake.
So
But
did he eat our food on the way? Did he steal our food? Bill Burr?
I think he
steal our
did.
food?
I think Bill Burr did. I think Joe Rogan invited him to Texas, and then Bill Burr went up to Aurora, stopped by Smoking Windmill Barbecue, got our food, grabbed him an alien ale, and ate our food on the way here, and then we never met him.
You just can't trust anybody, can you?
Yeah.
So anyway, so the topic today, music and lyrics. The reason I really wanted to bring this up is because we're both musical people. You were in a band and you were, pretty good at it. I was in a band. I wasn't good in it at all, I'll be honest with you.
I totally believe you.
Well, that's upsetting.
And that's rare.
Yeah.
I usually don't believe you, but when you say you were terrible in a band, I totally believe you.
Yeah, you've made me a little bit tearful for that
That's
condemnation. Okay. Well, lyrics, music and lyrics, I think, there's certain lyrics in songs which make people feel things, and you might not even like the song. I mean, there's a lot of songs I hear lyrics and I don't necessarily like the song, but I hear a lyric and I'm like, it kind of touches you, not inappropriately, but, it kind of touches you and you feel it. And sometimes there's, songs where it's just the music which touches you and there's no lyrics. And so, today I wanted, the Shepherd and I to come up with some songs where something meant something to us. And it might not mean anything to anybody else. Some people might not relate to it, but just lyrics and songs which kind of touch you, again, not inappropriately, because we don't have any legal covering in terms of anybody gets touched inappropriately. So
no, that's totally true.
Yeah.
And this podcast is going to be a little bit different because typically you're in charge of all the research.
Yeah.
You go out, you write up all the research, you go to your first page of Google and figure out what we're going to talk about. But in full disclosure, because we do not want to lead anybody astray here, before we got started, you came up to me and you said, I want you to pick out some songs that have lyrics that are meaningful for you. And I said, okay, why? And you said, well, I'll tell you later. So I do actually, for one of the first times outside of an interview, have notes in front of me. So this is kind of weird for me to actually have my own little chicken scratch page of notes in front of me that I get to refer back to. I feel kind of bizarre right now that I actually am keeping the notes in front of me. Well, my one page you're allowing me to have because you said I can't read that. So
well, we literally only had one piece of paper left, so you had to fit it on one page. So
that's why you only gave me one piece of paper.
Yeah.
Okay. See, that makes sense.
Well, and actually, that wasn't the first thing I said to you. The first thing I said to you was put your t-shirt back on. I know we've got the air conditioning turned up high because it's really cold outside at the moment here in Texas, 21 degrees.
Yes.
14 degrees with the wind chill. But you were sitting there with no t-shirt on.
And maybe we should clarify that because, we record long before we put these out, and this is that cold snap in Texas, and it is a little bit chilly outside. So if you hear some teeth chattering or something like that, we apologize, but it is a little bit cold.
Yeah. So we decided when we were going to do music and lyrics that we can't do the Smiths, right? Because there were
Smiths. We said no, not allowed.
Because Smiths is like Morrissey is like Shakespeare, so it's an absolute waste of time. So I thought of two Smith songs at random. Absolutely, two songs at random.
But wait.
And they were prime examples of why we can't use the Smiths in this podcast.
But I think you might be onto something. What if reincarnation is real and Morrissey actually is Shakespeare?
Well, that would have to be reversed, wouldn't it? Because like Shakespeare was there first.
Well, no, I'm saying that Morrissey is the
reincarnation of
Shakespeare.
Yeah, maybe.
Wouldn't that explain stuff?
That would explain a lot of stuff.
Doesn't reincarnation typically kind of stay local?
Yeah.
I mean, souls just can't jump across the Atlantic, apparently. So wouldn't that make sense that Morrissey might be Shakespeare?
That might be. I like the two songs, right? And I literally just thought of two Smith songs in my head and thought of two verses. So I came up like Reel Around the Fountain, okay, which I think was like a B-side of one of the earlier Smith songs. It's Time the Tale Was Told, of how you took a man and you made him mold. If that's not poetry, I don't know what is, to be honest with you. And that was like a B-side song. Another song off one of our favourite albums, one of the earliest Smith albums, Hatful of Hollow, the Girl Afraid song, right? It's like, girl afraid, where do his intentions lay? Or does he really have any? Because he never really looks at me. I give him every opportunity. And that's two B-side songs. I mean, none of the, famous Smith songs, but every song from that period was just literal genius. I mean, and that's why we can't use the Smiths in any of this music and lyrics thing, because he is Shakespeare in like...
No, you're absolutely correct. He's a great lyricist, great singer, all that good stuff. We said, okay, no Smith songs, those are off limits. Right. We both like the Smiths too much. We're going to fight over whichever songs we want to pick. We'd probably pick some of the similar songs, so we're not going to talk about any Smiths lyrics.
So having said that...
and we outside of the ones that we just talked about.
Yeah, so having said that and agreed upon that, I want to actually do a boomerang on you on this one, which you weren't expecting. Please, 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 let me go to one. The opening thing, right? Good times for a change. See the luck I've had could make a good man turn bad. I mean, where do you go from that?
Yeah, it's such a powerful song. And in that song, of course, is a very short song compared to, the standard.
Barely over 2 minutes.
Right. And covered by several bands. Great song and great message. But
I think 18 bands, actually, if you look on YouTube.
But he didn't really need to have that long of a song in there to get that message across.
How old were you when you first heard that song? Because did you hear that firstly on Hatful of Hollow, or what? Did you hear it from the original Smiths eponymous kind of album?
No, it would have been Hatful of Hollow is where I had heard it off of. So I don't remember what year Hatful of Hollow came out. It was very...
Definitely early 80s.
Early to mid 80s is probably when I heard it. So I'm going to be 7 or 8 years old, somewhere along in there.
And it was, I'll be honest with you, I mean, listening to that album and the lyrics in that album, it was rough on me because, I identified with a lot of it. I wasn't particularly social, and hearing songs like that on that album, I mean, I identified with most of it. And I think in a way, and it's a funny thing that you'll read of a lot of famous people who listened to the Smiths early in the 80s, especially English people, and they say the Smiths saved my life. And, in terms of, going to a psychiatrist or anything else, the Smiths really did save my life in terms of listening to those lyrics and feeling so, I don't know, I didn't feel like I had an identity, and a lot of people, especially in England at that time, didn't feel like they had an identity because, you didn't have a social media, you didn't have these groups where the goths could come together, where the alts could come together, and you felt you were all alone. And suddenly this band came out and just said, you know what, sometimes life's an absolute piece of crap.
No, absolutely. And of course, we could go on and on about the Smiths.
Yeah. So anyway, we're getting them out of the way.
Yep,
now.
We got to push forward.
We're getting them out of the way. So, musical lyrics, right? I asked you to put down on paper some songs, maybe some lyrics which spoke to you, even if you weren't necessarily a big fan of the song. So that if I said to you, what are your top favorite songs, none of these songs might be in your list.
Yeah, I look back, and of course I had a very short time to figure this out, but I mean, the first song right out of the gate for me is by my all-time favorite band, Flogging Molly. Been a Flogging Molly fan for years. Been very thankful that I actually know a few guys in the band, talk to them on a infrequent basis, but every time they come into town, get to sit down with them, hang out with them, and talk to them. One of their first songs that I remember hearing the song and saying, man, the lyrics are really powerful in this song, is a song by Flogging Molly called If I Ever Leave This World Alive. Part of what we were looking at with this podcast is just like little snippets. So it's not like we're going to read, the lyrics to the entire song of any of these songs. But what we're actually going to look at is just kind of one of the most powerful statements in that song. And one thing that I love about this song is the following line. So in a word, don't shed a tear. I'll be here when it all gets weird. That one always hit me really hard. I've also told my wife, and I've since now said, don't give me a funeral. But I always said, at my funeral, I want this song played for the simple fact of that line in there. Of course, the song's called If I Ever Leave This World Alive.
Well, can I interrupt there? Because you said I had complete autonomy over what happens when you die, and I was just going to set fire to you and like throw you in a ditch. I think.
Well, once again, like I said, this is back when I actually...
on your life insurance policy.
Yeah. Well, that was back when I wanted a funeral. Now I don't.
Yeah, no, you don't. No. So what about that lyric? I mean, I joke about it in terms of like touches you inappropriately. I think there are some lyrics which jump into parts of you where you don't necessarily want to expose to people even you're close to, but some lyrics just kind of, I don't know, make you well up with tears or just make you feel a certain way, and sometimes you can't even understand why they make you feel like that. With that lyric, I mean, what about that lyric kind of hits you?
The reason that I always said that song needs to be played at my funeral is because I know I'll die before my wife. She's much healthier than I am, takes better care of herself and all that. And I wanted her to really dig into the lyrics on that song to basically say, hey, things are weird right now. I'm gone. Of course, I've always joked, but in seriousness, I know she'll probably take a date to my funeral. It's not going to be difficult for her to find somebody else after me, but I kind of wanted to let her know, hey, I'm still going to be here when all this stuff is now weird. It's a powerful line in that song.
That's partly true, but like I said, you've sneaked in me on third beneficiary on your life insurance, so true. I guarantee you she won't be turning up to your funeral. So anyway,
that's okay.
So my
I mean, I'll be dead, so what do I care?
Well, I don't know. We've got a medium who we're going to be interviewing in a couple of weeks.
Hey, don't be letting out the secrets.
All right.
See, there you go again.
Yeah. He good. He talks to dead people a lot. So my first song, it's an awkward song for me because I don't understand why I like the lyric. Okay, it's Arcade Fire, Speaking in Tongues. Now the music, in terms of the guitar, it sounds like somebody very angry but very desperate. You know what it is? When you hit the guitar strings rather than just like playing them, you're like spanking the guitar.
Almost like a Rage Against the Machine song. The way Tom Morello
it's like
plays.
You're really, exactly. You're like angry at the guitar, but it's the only way you can get your emotion out. And the lyric from this song is hypocrite reader, my double, my brother, where did we lose our way? And I've struggled for like a number of years with this lyric because it's introspective. It's one of these existential type lyrics of like, it's really talking about himself, hypocrite reader, my double, my brother, where did we lose our way? And with the angriness, I guess, of the guitar playing it, for me, I don't, this is the one song, and this is why I chose this first. I don't understand why I like this lyric. I mean, I love the song, I love the guitar playing, but that lyric, I don't know, stuck with me for years and years. I still don't really understand it. I don't know if it's looking insular wise, but hypocrite reader, my double, my brother, where did we lose our way? Like I said, I still don't understand it really to this day, but it just comes up to me whenever I hear that song. I mean, that's repeated like about, I think, 3 or 4 times during the song. Just every time it stirs something in me, and I just don't know why.
I think there's a lot of songs that stir things up in us, and we don't really know why. For instance, the next one on my list, and me growing up, wanting to be in an alt-rock band and being kind of that teenager of the 90s, it was impossible not to have Nirvana be a influence on guitar playing.
It was going to be Nirvana or Pearl Jam at that point in time. Yeah.
And so even though it wasn't one of my favorite Nirvana songs, one line that I always loved in Nirvana songs was from All Apologies, which is just a very simple line. I wish I was like you. easily amused.
Hmm.
And it's kind of powerful. My wife even gets on me right now. We'll watch a quote unquote comedy on TV or a movie, and she'll look over at me and she'll be laughing. She's like, "Why aren't you laughing?" And I'll say, "Well, it's not really that funny." And I think that's why that one hits me, because I'm just not easily amused. Now, on the flip side of that coin, there are some things that I find hilariously funny that a lot of other people don't, but they're far and few between. And I look at myself as that same person Kurt Cobain was singing about when he said, "I wish I was like you, easily amused." And I've just never been easily amused.
Yeah. Now, I understand this because obviously I know you.
And to carry on from that, I like stand-up comedy, but I'm not one that watches a stand-up comedy show, and when you hear everybody laugh every 15 to 20 seconds, I might laugh 6 times in an hour.
Right.
Now, I'm entertained, but I'm not amused.
Well, neither of us are people who like go along with a laughter track. Right. And I think that's one of the big things. But I couldn't remember that lyric. But when you bring it up, I remember somebody from a band back early 80s said, I wish sometimes I could just be a builder, a bricklayer, because I'd just like to have a job and just be happy at doing it. Go out in the morning knowing what I'm going to do my job, and come back home at night and collect my paycheck, and, just live that simplistic lifestyle. Because, really, I mean, it was one of those early 80s, all of the kind of alt bands and punk rock bands, new wave bands were all anti-capitalist. But it was just like somebody said, I would just like a simple life. Sometimes being smart, being intelligent brings a certain amount of depression. And then when you go back and look at all these great people in history, all the great poets, all the great lyricists and everything else, they were depressed, and their intelligence did bring them out, depression. I mean, the same thing with Morrissey we were talking about. And that thing there, I wish I was like you, easily amused. I wish I could just sit there and just be happy looking at bull crap. I wish I could just sit here on the couch and just be entertained by this useless crap being put in front of me. But you can't, because you're too smart, you're too intelligent. You realize, it's not funny, there's a laugh track, it's contrived, there's nothing really inventive about it. And I don't know, if you ask me, would I like to be easily amused, or would I like to be intelligent but a little bit depressed? I honestly don't know what I'd go with.
I think it also goes back to the famous saying, and I don't know if it's attributed to anybody or not: ignorance is bliss.
Right.
So so the people that are ignorant, and of course ignorant contains a negative connotation, and it's not necessarily that whatsoever, but sometimes ignorance is bliss. When you don't know any better, you're happier.
Right.
You are happier when you just don't know any better.
Yeah.
And there is some bliss within that.
Yeah.
No, there most certainly is.
No, that's absolutely true. And that, until you mentioned that, no, I mean, I've heard that from a variety of sources in different ways. It's been, maybe portrayed or explained, and that's the absolute truth, that, it would be nice just to be able to be happy and just accept things the way they are in society. Not question your government, not question anything, and just be happy and just live your life. But I think there's a point where, if you're kind of smart, that you start getting issues with things. You start getting disgruntled with things you should otherwise accept. I think I've always felt that way in a bit, and so no, I absolutely appreciate that lyric. Now,
before you go to your next one, it kind of reminds me of not an article, but I think it was a Twitter response to somebody. They were talking about, and ironically, well, I don't know your list, you don't know my list, but I'm gonna guess for a second you don't have a Rage Against the Machine song on there. I remember seeing a tweet that somebody was attacking Rage Against the Machine about them being too political, and somebody on Twitter actually said, "What machine do you think they were raging against?"
Right.
The washing machine? Because it's the political machine that they were raging against.
Right.
And all of a sudden you do get some bands that have political messages, that have some kind of message, kind of like Morrissey or something like that. And it tries to take people out of that ignorance, but a lot of times they just say, oh, I like the way the beat is. I like the melody of the song. They don't even know what they're singing. They don't know why they like the song, but it's a catchy melody. It's got a great hook. It's got a good guitar riff. It's got whatever it is in there. So that's part of that ignorance is bliss. When people are singing along with songs and they don't even realize what they're singing.
Well, one thing I will say for Rage Against the Machine, if they were an instrumental band, you'd still feel the same way. I just think the way they played their instruments, it got you riled up and made you think about something you needed to be passionate about.
No, you're absolutely correct. My wife does not like it when I listen to Rage Against the Machine because she says I start to get angry.
Yeah.
I just, all of a sudden my mood starts changing and that anger starts coming out, and it's completely subconscious, but you kind of hear that in the music, and then the message behind the lyrics is the same way.
It's like, turn off the Housewives of Orange County. I want to watch Paw Patrol. Yeah,
right.
It's a real, you switched it. So my second song is that little bit of a bizarre one because it's Taylor Swift, and I'm not a Taylor Swift fan.
All right, so during this segment, I'm going to tune out.
Yeah.
And you're just going to talk because I'm not going to say anything about Taylor Swift. But this one's all on you.
Yeah, but there was an early song she did called Change, right? And we've mentioned it on my on the podcasts.
Do you have a separate podcast I don't know about?
Well, I do have one, which is just purely selling clothes.
How's that going for you?
It's not working out very well, I'll be honest with you.
I'm sorry.
I haven't sold anything. I'm still doing it, though, twice a week. Taylor Swift, Change. Now, the reason I got connected with this song, because as you know, my son has autism. As an autism parent, you're always looking for this hope, there's some development. And, this song, I'll go right into the lyric, actually. It says, tonight we'll stand, get off our knees, fight for what we've worked for all these years. And the battle was long, it's the fight of our lives, but we'll stand up champions tonight. It was the night things changed, can you see it now? These walls they put up to hold us back fell down. It's a revolution, throw up your hands, because we never gave in. And we'll sing hallelujah. We sang hallelujah, hallelujah. And so to me, that song, forgetting how I feel or don't feel about Taylor Swift, that song just really speaks to me about my son. And it's hard for me to listen to that song without crying, especially that last part of that song, because, it's everything I want. I want my son to have victory, to overcome the hurdles he's got. And those lyrics, like I said, when we said about, these songs might not be in our top 10 songs, but it's just the lyrics, that for me, that's a powerful song for me. And
I see what you're saying. There's another one. So the next one on my list, kind of a powerful song with me. And once again, here we go. We're dealing with death. And the song was actually written by a guy named Wayne Cochran. Then a band called J. Frank Wilson and the Cavaliers got it up a little bit more into popularity. But in my generation, when I'm growing up listening to music, and I heard Pearl Jam cover the song, it really hit me hard. And I remember playing the song by Pearl Jam for my parents, and my dad saying, well, they didn't write that. I've heard this song before. And if you haven't figured it out by now, it's Last Kiss by Pearl Jam. And it's an extremely, extremely sad song. But there's a line in that song that to me is very powerful that says, she's gone to heaven, so I've got to be good so I can see my baby when I leave this world.
Right.
That's a super powerful line. It's
I never knew that was a cover version when I first heard that song.
Well, neither did I. I don't remember exactly when Pearl Jam released their cover version. I mean, it's a great cover version. It really is. But I just remember my dad telling me, well, that's an old song. It's almost like, and this isn't on our list. And now that we're right in the middle of this, now I'm thinking Cats in the Cradle would have been a good one right now. Because I remember hearing a cover version of Cats in the Cradle. And
was an old band who covered that, right? What was the name of that band who covered that song?
Ugly Kid Joe was the name of the band, I think, that covered the song.
Was it?
Or something like that. But hey, now
that was the band who did I Hate Everything About You, right?
Yes. I'm pretty sure. And I remember a good friend of mine, Tommy Truelove. Hopefully you're listening to this, man. But I remember going to your next door neighbor's house, and we played that song off of a tape I think we made. And his dad and the guy that lived in the house that we were playing pool with, they both looked at us as kids saying, this is an old song. This is not a brand new song. Because we were like, this is a great song. It's brand new. And we didn't know. But going back to Last Kiss, when I heard the original, I was like, okay, well, that's good too. But you listen to the whole song and you realize what a sad song
didn't Pearl Jam actually record that on like an original like 8-track or something? Because when you listen to it, they did it so it actually sounds kind of old, like it was you were playing it on a 45 or you were
you do
whatever.
have to remember. I know you're not an audiophile guy like I am. Not that I'm great at it, but I kind of study a little bit of this. But Pearl Jam has always been all about analog recording versus digital recording.
Right.
I mean, even Dave Grohl and the Foo Fighters, they like recording into that old analog sound, recording on tape, and then having to convert it over to digital so you can stream it and download it and put it on CDs and everything. But Pearl Jam always wanted to record that old analog style, and it gives it that kind of warm feeling. And then when you listen to it on vinyl, it's even more warm.
Now, this was unexpected for you, but I know this is about music and lyrics. I wanted to bring in your top 3 instrumental songs ever.
Top 3.
Because you reminded me with like
instrumental. So no lyrics at all.
No lyrics. Yeah. You can't use Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness because that's a given.
Yeah. That was that was going to be in there. The
Beethoven,
intro track.
Beethoven would have killed himself to have written that.
Yeah. That honestly would have been in the top 3.
Most perfect.
Honestly,
piece of music ever.
Believe it or not, I used to use that song as a wake-up song on Alexa. I had an alarm set, and Alexa would wake me up at a certain time and then play that song, and I had to stop it because I started to associate that with having to get up out of bed. I always loved that song, and of course I still do.
I have a similar story on that I had it, but it would send me into lucid dreaming. It wouldn't wake me up because I loved that music so much, that Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, and I had it on repeat.
Remember,
I would go into lucid dreaming.
I remember buying that record or album or whatever you want to call it, right? And popping that first CD in. Remember, it was a 2 CD set.
CDs,
and popping that first CD in and listening to that song, thinking, "Wow, this is the Smashing Pumpkins." And then, of course, Tonight was right after that had a orchestral, beginning. And I'm like, man, I love this band, but where are they going with this? Because this is utterly fantastic. And I still love that first track on Melancholy and Infinite Sadness.
There's not many pieces of music which will actually use the word beautiful about, but Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness.
Yes.
That is a beautiful piece of music. So anyway, so you got 3 other pieces of music. Quick off the top of your head. You got like less than 20 seconds to bring up.
So
and it can be in songs where there's actually lyrics, but just pieces of music. Which you like?
I know one right off the top of my head, and I cannot think of the name of the song, and it's driving me nuts. But it's the first track off the Toadies Rubberneck album, "Mr. Love," I believe is the name of the song, and I'm probably going to get fact-checked horribly on this, but it's just guitar and drums and everything, and I think there's a couple of little, talking in there. There's not any real singing, but I remember that being like this instrumental track where said, that's great. But the Toadies Rubberneck album, I think it was 1994. Toadies were big in Fort Worth and Dallas back when, I was really into music, wanting to be in a band and everything. I mean, one of my dreams was to get a call from a club in Deep Ellum and say, hey, your band's going to open for the Toadies tonight. I always wanted that to happen.
Yeah.
So that would be one. Honestly, the theme from Star Wars, it's always going to be on that list. I think it is a great piece of music that John Williams put together on there.
Now, you're talking about the dun, 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 not the cantina song.
Not the dun, 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 dun,
dun. Yeah.
Although that was my ringtone on my phone for a long time.
Well, you told me that was your sex music. When you make love to your wife, that's your, you use that Star Wars cantina music.
That's right. That's why I can go 3.5 minutes.
Yeah.
But so we got those two.
Remember, it doesn't have to be. It can just be an instrumental of a song. The rest of the songs can have some singing in it.
Okay, so here we go back with Smashing Pumpkins. Because of Spotify that we have now, there is I think it's called Sadlands or Badlands demo, and there is an instrumental version of 33 that you can listen to on Spotify. And I've always loved the music behind 33. It's a good song all the way around. Even the regular song, I love how the bass comes in on that song. Back when Darcy was playing the bass for Smashing Pumpkins and all that good stuff. I'm gonna have to go with that is my number 3. Now that you hit me out of left field, I mean, look, you came in and we were gonna record, and you gave me like this short amount of time to think about that. I'm like, God, there's so much, and I know I'm missing this, and I'm going to listen back and say, oh, I should have said this song. Oh, I should have said that song. Those are the first ones that popped into my head. All right, so no. Now,
says mine.
I was going to say, you did this to me, and of course, you knew you were going to do it to me, so you probably already have yours.
No, I only decided about 10 seconds before I said it. But I think with mine, Everlong by the Foo Fighters, that introduction is just... Dun, 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 dun.
Well, okay. Now you're changing the rules.
No, I told you it doesn't have to be somebody singing. It just has to be a piece of music. It just has to be an instrumental. Which there's instrumentals in songs.
Well, sure. If we go with that, I mean, we're going to need like 6 hours.
Right.
I love the solo in Tripping Daisy. Their record, I'm an Elastic Firecracker. I can't think of the name of the song. It's the longest song on the record. The song's seriously like 7 or 8 minutes long. And the guitar solo is incredible. I could tell you November Rain by Guns N' Roses.
Right, yeah.
The guitar solo in November Rain and the piano in that is just utterly amazing.
Maybe you misunderstood the question.
I probably did.
Piece of music, yeah.
Yeah.
So, no, Everlong, Foo Fighters, love that. Smells Like Teen Spirit, Nirvana. There was never any lyrics in the song.
Yeah.
That intro, they'd have just played that for the whole song. I think that would have got things done.
I think that was the third song I learned how to play on the guitar, and it was the first song I taught my son how to play on the guitar.
Yeah.
Said that first riff is so powerful and it's so easy to play, but you basically have to have this in your wheelhouse if you're going to play the guitar.
Now, really surprising one, because it surprises me and it's on my list, is a Landslide by Fleetwood Mac.
So here we go with the Smashing Pumpkins again, right? You have Landslide come out by Fleetwood Mac, and I never was a Fleetwood Mac fan, and it's kind of ironic. I mean, I really wish Tommy Truelove was sitting here because he loved Fleetwood Mac, and he always tried to get me to listen to Fleetwood Mac and get into him, and I never could. Then Pisces Iscariot came out by Smashing Pumpkins, and they covered Landslide, and I'm like, this is the greatest song. Have you ever heard this? And he's like, well, this isn't a Smashing Pumpkin song. This is a Fleetwood Mac song. And I almost stopped liking the song because for some reason I just was so anti-Fleetwood Mac. But my favorite part about Landslide, and I still think that Smashing Pumpkins did a better job than Fleetwood Mac, hands down. I know they wrote the song, but
But remember, it's a piece of music. They still
Right.
play it the same way.
But the Pumpkins do a better job. But I remember when the Dixie Chicks, which now they're just the Chicks,
yeah.
when they brought out their version, my wife's like, "Oh, you got to listen to this," and I'm like, "I hate it. I absolutely hate it." It's almost like they said, "Okay, Fleetwood Mac wrote the song, the Pumpkins covered it, but now we're going to try to cover the Pumpkins version and do a terrible job."
It was horrible.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
I agree.
Now, my last piece actually breaches into our list. Smashing Pumpkins Tonight. The intro to that
Should
song.
we have just called this podcast Why We Love the Smashing Pumpkins?
Well, after we did the Smiths bit,
Yeah.
But no, I mean, the intro to the Tonight.
Have you heard
Is
the
just-
strings only version on Spotify of Tonight?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Is that not amazing?
I go into like all types of heaven when I listen to that. But no, the intro to Tonight, again, it makes me feel things I don't know necessarily what I'm feeling. But going back to the music and lyrics thing, the thing I was going to come up with, the opening thing, time is never time at all, and about the relativity
you can never ever leave.
Yeah, but about the relativity of, time is never time at all. Yeah, the opening part to that song just sends me to directions and places which it just hits in different parts of my heart, my mind, I just can't explain. But that being the following on song from, obviously Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness on that album, you listen to Melancholy and then it breaks into Tonight. I mean, I think that album,
it's a powerful
it's like
album.
DMT, it's like dimethyltryptamine. I mean, that album sends you to places which
I remember and let's talk just a little bit more about the Pumpkins and then move on. I remember listening to Gish, their first record, and knew about that before, a lot of folks did. And then the next record come out, and for some reason I'm drawing a blank of the name of the next record, but that was the one that Today was on, which I always loved the song Today. Siamese Dream, there it is.
Mm-hmm.
Siamese Dream came out, and then Today kind of made the Pumpkins super popular. And there were other great songs on there, Rocket and lots of good songs. But my parents, they knew I liked the Smashing Pumpkins, and they would hear me playing all this. And of course, I was always, as a kid, trying to get my parents to say, "Hey, listen to this. This is a great song." And they just, no, we don't like it. It's too much screaming, too much this. They don't like screaming. I remember when I played Tonight for my parents, and I said, "You've got to listen to this song. This is an amazing song." And both my father and my mother heard the song, and they're like, "That is so great. I wish you would listen to more music like this." I said, "Mom and Dad, this is the Smashing Pumpkins."
Right.
And they couldn't believe it. So after that, I would play them a different song, and I'd say, "What do you think of this?" My mom literally would always say, "Is this the Smashing Pumpkins?"
Right.
After that.
That also probably, that Tonight is one of my top 3 music videos of all time.
Fantastic video.
Ever.
I mean, my number one video all time, hands down, November Rain.
Right.
Never was a big Guns N' Roses fan, but all-time top favorite video of all time, November Rain.
But
you can't outdo that. And I don't want to hear crap about the Thriller.
Right. Yeah.
We're not going there.
Yeah.
November Rain, great video.
Yeah.
Tonight.
Yeah, I think
agree
that,
with you.
That to
by the
me
way,
is just,
here's a little trivia. So did you know that I think it was Aeroplane by Red Hot Chili Peppers? They were actually looking at doing a video kind of like that. And the Pumpkins were actually looking at doing a video like Aeroplane, because it was this kind of bizarre video that Red Hot Chili Peppers did for that song. And they decided to, kind of divide out, and we'll take this genre, you take that genre. Because it was right along the same time. And obviously the Pumpkins, back when MTV mattered, they won all the awards, and Chili Peppers didn't win anything.
Yeah, before it's about 16-year-olds getting married and stuff when MTV mattered. Before we leave the Pumpkins thing, one of the songs I forgot, which really, I think it hit me hard, was the Bullet with
Bullet
Butterfly,
with Butterfly Wings.
was The World is a Vampire. When he
Sent to
opened up
Drain.
with that lyric, the world is a vampire. And then it got onto the, so like, despite all my rage, I'm just ready to roll. But I mean, yeah, that opening lyric of that song, you can understand it. I mean, it doesn't matter what your political views are, whether you're anti-capitalist, blah, blah, blah. The world is a vampire. I mean, that just opening in terms of a song, given where they're at the time. I mean, for me, when I heard that, I mean, I never not get chills going up my spine when I hear that lyric and hear that thing. I know I'm going to have to rush through the rest of this list because your wife has ordered some food for you.
Yes.
At home. One of those rare occasions where you're going to have dinner waiting for you when you get home. So I've got to rush through this.
It's only twice a year.
Yeah. So one of the songs, which is really quick and simple, Rihanna, Stay. Okay.
Never heard of it.
I love the piano bit of it. And I mean, it's a beautiful love song, but there's this lyric in it which says, well, funny you're the broken one, but I'm the only one who needed saving. And it's a little bit sarcastic in a way. It's like, when people date those people who are like narcissistic and like make themselves out to be the victim I'm hurt, you need to take care of me. But then they make everything about you being the problem and stuff. And I just love that lyric. They're, well, funny you're the broken one, but I'm the only one who needed saving. That song, I mean, like I said, the piano in it is fantastic. I'm not a Rihanna fan, but that song I think is beautiful, and I think I really do like that lyric because I think most people have dated somebody who they think, they kind of victimize themselves. And
we kind of got a little serious with some of this, but one of the ones that I chose was actually kind of a fun song. And lyrics that kind of mean something to me. There was a band called Bowling for Soup. I went to college at the University of North Texas in Denton, Texas, and this band was from Denton, Texas. And I remember this band got their start playing on a little street called Fry Street right outside the college, and then got some nationwide stuff. And they had one song called Ohio, and then they eventually had to put in parentheses, come back to Texas, because it was kind of all about Texas. And in the entire song, I mean, I could read the entire song, and if you live in Texas, you would love the references that they put in this song. But one of the best parts of the song is the chorus, which the chorus actually reads, come back to Texas. Well, let me back up. So the song's basically about losing a girlfriend that moves to Ohio, and that's why they call the song Ohio. So the chorus of the song is, come back to Texas. It's just not the same since you went away. Before you lose your accent and forget all about the Lone Star State, there's a seat for you at the rodeo, and I've got every slow dance saved. Besides, the Mexican food sucks north of here anyway. Such a great chorus. And there's so many references to Texas in that song. There's like a what do you call it? Like a bridge in there. It's like, Bluebell wants you back. The Bush Twins want you back. It's a fun song. It's a happy song. But I've always loved the chorus of that song because you and I both living here in the great state of Texas, when you hear that song, you almost want to play it for other people and say, this is Texas. And they even reference Denton County.
Now, you ever really losing a girl who moves to Ohio?
Well, if she decides to move to Ohio, then she's probably not.
Texas,
she's probably not. She's probably not worth it.
One of the songs which we actually both chose on this was Radiohead, Fake Plastic Trees, right? One of the great songs of, in terms of English alt music.
That was almost on my list until you told me no.
Yeah, you can't choose it because I've already done it.
You already chose it.
Yeah, you can't have it.
You use veto power.
I think the way it starts off, very simple, right? There's 2 chords until halfway in the song, right? So you can teach anybody to play this song. And then it kind of crescendos.
No, hang on. I don't think I could teach you how to play it.
I can play Fake Plastic Trees.
Guitar Hero doesn't count.
All right, then. I can't play Fake Plastic
Okay.
Trees. All right.
There we
Anyway,
go.
I've got 2 sets of lyrics from this song. She lives with a broken man, a cracked polystyrene man who just crumbles. For one, which is like, yeah, it's pretty freaking deep. And then the second part, she looks like the real thing. She tastes like the real thing. My fake plastic love.
The sad part is that fake plastic love, we could spin that into another whole
various
podcast,
things, yeah,
and
yeah.
that might get a little
Yeah,
scary.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean, I think that first thing about you take it, it's about the same person, but you know, she lives with a broken man, a cracked polystyrene man who just crumbles. It's somebody who just breaks apart and loses their crap at every little, you know, instigation, and then you've got the other thing, the other side of it, where it's like she looks like the real thing, she tastes like the real thing. My fake plastic love. It's like this person who, I don't know, it just seems like it seems like it touches all my buttons, pushes all my buttons, but I just don't want it. It's just pathetic. It's
Radiohead has always been one of those bands that's kind of always been outside the norm, creative, almost like the Smiths.
Yeah.
And let's be careful, we don't want to get in the Smiths
Yeah.
again, but they've almost been kind of like the Smiths,
Yeah.
that they've always tried to go outside the box with
Yeah.
the way they've done stuff, distribution of records, distribution of tickets, concert tickets, kind of like Pearl Jam did as well. Totally
Yeah.
get where they're going with
Yeah,
it.
I mean, Tom York is the genius. I mean, he actually has I think it's his brother who had a band called The Unbelievable Truth. There's a few songs which I have by them, which again, fantastic. But yeah, Tom York's lyrics, I mean, he did a song for one of the Twilight movies, Hearing Damage, and you listen to that song and just the whole beat of that song, again, if nobody sings to it, there's no lyrics in it, it's just one of those songs which evokes an emotion in you. And I think Radiohead, you know, did a very good job. You take like Karma Police, you know, songs like that. The guitar in it, I mean, it's like somebody taking the strings of the guitar and strangling you at times in terms of what it evokes, in terms of emotion. And even if you didn't hear the lyrics, because Tom York doesn't always sing that well that you can actually understand the lyrics. You know, you actually have to look them up to actually, yeah, especially like songs like Karma Police and stuff. You actually have to look it up, see exactly what he's saying. But it's just, I don't know, Radiohead, I mean, they're, for as long as they've been around, they're a very powerful mood-based band. Now, move on. Were you going on your last song?
Yeah, so my last song is by Joni Mitchell, and in full disclosure, I didn't know it was a Joni Mitchell song when I first heard it.
Not true.
Because I heard the Counting Crows version first, and then dug into the song and realized Joni Mitchell wrote the song and first performed the song, and that's Big Yellow Taxi. I think that song has such a powerful message in it, and one of my favorite little pieces of that song is, don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you've got till it's gone? They paved paradise and put up a parking lot. Such a great line and so powerful, such a great metaphor, because you don't realize when, you know, some aspects of your life go away and then you move on to a new spot, or, you know, maybe you go back to your hometown and you say, hey, I remember when this looked like this. I remember that the house I'm living in right now, this is no lie, the house I'm living in right now, I know when I was a kid, I walked around that field with a shotgun with a friend of mine, and we were hunting doves, and now it's nothing but houses. It's powerful that you don't know what you've got till it's gone. And when the Counting Crows did it, you know, I love Counting Crows. I've seen them 2 or 3 times live, but I kind of almost understand why they decided to go ahead and cover that song, because of the message behind it.
Well,
you don't know what you've got till it's
that
gone.
lyric you've literally said, right, with the Counting Crows, with the song A Long December, there is this verse at the end of it. It says, and it's been a long December and there is reason to believe maybe this year will be better than the last. I can't remember all the times I tried to tell myself to hold on to these moments while they pass.
Well, I think
exactly kind of.
Yeah, but I think Adam Duritz, the lead singer of Counting Crows, that guy's got a lot of pain.
Yeah.
In his life. And I think that's what makes a lot of the songs so powerful. I remember seeing them live on the Recovering the Satellites tour. In fact, I believe it or not, I still have the t-shirt from that show, and I saw them in a tiny little club over in Dallas. There might have been 200 people there. And I remember standing in that club. I was probably 5 people away from the front of the stage. Tiny little club, so 200 people, not that big of a deal. And I fired up a cigar and was smoking a cigar while they were playing, and Adam Duritz just kind of looked at me and then gave me this nod that, I was sitting there smoking a cigar. And I was almost as close as I am to you right now from him. It was kind of bizarre. I've always liked the small shows versus the big stadium shows. But most kids nowadays, they don't get to go see the small music shows anymore. Everything's the big stadium shows. But back in those days, I always liked the small shows.
The Counting Crows were almost a band which I wanted to actually not kind of talk about in this, because I think a lot of their songs, Recovering the Satellites, Mr. Jones, Cowboys and stuff. A lot of Adam Duritz's lyrics are just like pure poetry. And, I wanted to avoid that because it's just too easy to choose those songs.
But it's impossible for me to give you a list of powerful lyrics without including him.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we had to get rid of the Smiths, get rid of the Counting Crows, get rid of these bands. Because it's just too easy.
You told me no Smiths. You never said no Counting Crows.
Yeah, but it's something.
Your last one.
Right, my last one, which isn't going to be the last one, because I'm going to stick in like 3 really quickly here, actually. Third Eye Blind, how's it going to be? I wonder how it's going to be when you don't know me. How's it going to be when you're sure I'm not there? When you've broken up with somebody and they know it's done, and you've kind of got that self-sufficient kind of attitude of like, don't bother trying to resurrect this relationship because I am freaking done. But how's it going to feel when I'm not around anymore? I mean, there's a lot of things to say about that song, but I think that's one of the best breakup songs ever. How's it going to be?
I'll give you that.
One of the best breakup songs ever, right? So
I'll give you that one.
Shifting on, because we ran out of time, because I know you want to get home and eat the food which your wife has ordered for you.
I'm hungry.
So Coldplay, The Scientist, I don't know if you know that song. We probably don't.
I don't like Coldplay.
Beautiful.
I don't like Coldplay.
Yeah, but
I'm just not a fan.
But again, the early albums, right, very, very poetic. All right, and the piano stuff. I mean, you've got a dude who's like can play incredible piano and guitar, everything else. But the lyrics, come up to meet you, tell you I'm sorry, you don't know how lovely you are. I had to find you, tell you I need you, tell you I set you apart. And, it's funny, you watch the video of that song and everything's in reverse, right? The entire video is in reverse. And, those lyrics with that piano music, to me, I mean, again, it is just like a beautiful thing. Could I relate to it? No, not necessarily, but it was just a beautiful thing. It's just, when you talk about Guns N' Roses and November Rain, it's not relatable. It's just a beautiful image, like in the video and the lyrics and music and everything which goes with it. Especially with how the piano starts and then dun, dun, and when it gets in the guitar, it's just a beautiful thing. And that's the same thing. Well, who the heck is?
Yeah, somebody just drove by somebody just drove by the studio and said, "Listen to my muffler."
Yeah, we're not listening to anybody's muffler without sponsorship. Just want to put that out there. So my last song, again, a song which I know you have never heard of. It's by Aqualung. It's called Strange and Beautiful. And it's really a song about unrequited love. And the lyrics are, sometimes the last thing you want comes in first. And sometimes the first thing you want never comes.
A lot of truth.
A lot of people can relate to that, right?
Yeah.
And, the chorus is, I'll put a spell on you. You fall asleep, I'll put a spell on you. When I wake you, I'll be the first thing you see, and you'll realize that you love me. I mean, just a to me, that was always kind of like a nerdish view of a love song of like, I've got no way to get this girl to like me. And so, yeah, I'll turn to magic or blah, blah, blah. But I mean, that's the whole epitome of unrequited love when you've got somebody who doesn't even acknowledge your existence and stuff. And it's like, you're just going to wake up and you're just going to fall in love with me. And it's a stupid notion. But this is the type of stuff when you're a kid, when you're in your early teens and you like somebody in high school or whatever, that, how do you just get this person to like you or know you? And you come up with these stupid imaginary things when you're in the shower or the bath or while you're laying in bed late at night of, how can I get this person to love me? And this song's about, I'll put a spell on you, and when you wake up, I'll be the first thing you see and you'll fall in love with me. And just the most stupid answer to try and get somebody to like you.
Well, I remember one of the many songs that I learned how to play on the guitar years ago, and this isn't on my list, but kind of going back to what you said is Tyler by the Toadies. Once again, bringing them up. I mean, Fort Worth band, got to give them some props here. But that's kind of what that song is all about. And because the music was good and all of that, nobody really read into the lyrics behind the song. But there's actually a line in the song when he kind of gets towards the end. He says, "I can't believe I'm really here," as she's lying in that bed. "I can almost feel her touch and her anxious breath. I stumble in the hallway outside the bedroom door. I hear her call out to me. I hear the fear in her voice. She pulls the covers tighter. I press against the door." It was one of those where that was somebody he was in love with. He wanted to be with her, but he couldn't. And you could hear the struggle. And when you hear Todd sing that song, you hear that pain in his voice. Like this was something he had dreamed up in his mind. Like, I'm going in there, I want to do this, and there's a lot of people that see some different things in the song and they're wrong, but he had that pain. Yeah. He had that pain of what he was trying to search out there, and it was that love pain like you're talking about.
Now, to end off with, music and lyrics, there was somebody who said, if a lyric doesn't punch you in the dick, punch you in the heart, or punch you in the head, then it's meaningless.
I agree. I mean, there is a place for bubblegum pop, right? There should be songs like "Who Let the Dogs Out?" Nobody cares.
I still don't know "Who Let the Dogs Out."
Well, I get on my kids because they won't let the dog out because he's got to go to the bathroom. Yeah. There needs to be goofy songs.
Right.
There needs to be songs that you just kind of listen to, sit back, and you don't have to think about, that are not high level in the lyrics, and you just listen to it because it's fun. There's a lot of music out there that people don't actually kind of drag themselves into and figure out exactly why it's meaningful. With that said, thanks for tuning in to this episode of The Wolf and the Shepherd. Hopefully we did not depress you too much, because now I guess I'm going home and eating dinner, but
hello, darkness, my old friend.
Yeah, I don't even want to listen to music tonight, because now I'm going to start digging deep in that Spotify playlist and start listening to songs. We will catch you on the next one. Thanks for all the support. Be good.